I got married pretty young. My wife and I were both just 21 when we said I do, and I'm 35 now, which means I got married 14 years ago, which is a lot of time when you're only 35. In just about a month and a half, my wife and I will be celebrating our anniversary. And I have to ask the question, what's that anniversary about? It's about a day that we chose to commit to one another. We made promises to one another. We made promises in front of a crowd of friends and family. We made promises in front of God. Our commitment is noted in government records. It's on video, and there are photos to remind us of the occasion. It was a well-documented event, but even without the documentation, I remember the day well. I remember the preparation leading into that day. I remember picking the songs that would be a part of our ceremony. I remember the surprise of family members who traveled great distances to be there. I remember eating cake, though unfortunately only a couple bites. I remember being frustrated with our photographer, and most of our wedding party being frustrated with her as well. I remember my stepdad, who performed the ceremony, singing "If I Fell in Love with You" by the Beatles, and his reminder to us that love was more than just holding hands. I remember seeing my mom and my mother-in-law crying on the front row. It was a solemn, joyous, serious, silly, fun, exhausting day. But I always come back around to those promises. I told Lorinda that there were things I would do, a kind of person I would be, and I made a commitment that bound me to those promises until death. And I remember Lorinda making those same kind of commitments, promises bound by a covenant, sealed with a kiss. Jesus talks about commitment. He has something very specific he wants us to understand about it. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 31 through 37, he says this, "It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the grounds of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform to the Lord what you have sworn. But I say to you, do not take an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let what you say be simply yes or no. Everything more comes from evil." If you look in your Bible, you'll probably see two headings here, divorce and oaths, or something similar. That's the kind of thing that signals to our brains that these are two separate teachings. But if you've been watching these videos daily, you'll remember a couple days ago I said that these don't exist in the original text. And by extension, Jesus probably didn't stop between verse 32 and 33 and announce to the crowd mid-speech that was divorce. Here's oaths. Remember, the Sermon on the Mount is a single text. It's part of a larger text that tells us who Jesus is, what he was born in this world to do, and how we are called to live in light of those truths. In these 7 verses, Jesus is calling us to be people who honor our commitments. And as a race, humanity is not so good at this. What we are good at is finding weaselly ways to get out of our commitments. We're always looking for a loophole. And the people of Jesus' time were no different or better about it than we are today. Teachers of Jesus' day had found many loopholes that would allow a man to divorce his wife for almost any reason. Burning toast, being displeasing to the eye, having a poor disposition. And they could divorce her as long as they issued a certificate of divorce, essentially a sheet of paper that says she's not married anymore, not my responsibility. This absolved him of having to provide for her financially or see to any other duty required of a husband. People also made outrageous oaths and solemnized them by invoking any number of things. The temple, heaven, their head. But just as interpreters of law had found ways to let a man out of his commitment to his wife, they'd also found ways to justify breaking any oath that wasn't made specifically to God. Jesus tells us in no uncertain terms that all of this is wrong. We are called to be people whose words can be trusted on their own merit. And we can't be that kind of person if our yes isn't yes. If we say we're going to do something, we do it. This is the way Jesus shows us in his own actions, and it's the way we are called to as his followers. We are supposed to be people of fidelity, that our words and our actions are one and the same. I love you, and I pray today that you will be people whose words can not only be trusted, but can be taken for exactly what they are.